Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today is actually the first podcast where I've got two guests on, which is kind of history-making, but I think it's fitting that these two guests will be the ones that will make history with me. So first I got Stacy Piagno, who's joining me from down in Jacksonville, Florida, a member of the U.S. Women's National Team. Stacy, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And I've got Isaac Wenrich, who is one of my former players back in the Berkshire Baseball days, and played pro baseball, independent pro baseball for 6 seasons. Isaac.
Yeah, I made it 6. Had some good years, man. So thanks for having me on here. It's I've wanted to be on your podcast for a while, so I'm appreciative.
Cool. So he's joining us from Arizona. So thanks both of you guys for joining us, and we're going to talk about a couple different things, but one of the main things that we'll talk about during this podcast and why we have Stacy and Isaac on here is because they were battery mates for the independent team Sonoma Stompers, and in July of 2017, Stacy picked up her first career win on the mound for Sonoma, and Isaac was behind the plate. So I'm going to talk to Stacy first. Stacy, obviously you played softball at Tampa. How did you get involved in, playing softball and then also playing baseball? Which came first? Just tell me a little bit about your journey there.
Yeah, so I grew up playing baseball. I played on the boys team through Little League, and I continued to play a little bit of travel ball for the PAL League around here. And then going into high school, I was the first girl on my high school team. So I played all 4 years in high school. I did 2 years of JV, 2 years of varsity. And then I really didn't start playing softball until I was heading into college. I did play at Flagler College for 2 years, and then I transferred to University of Tampa. And then in the summertime of my college career, I got hooked up with USA Women's Baseball. So for those of you who don't know, Team USA, they have many of the different age levels for men, for boys, but they also have a women's team. You have to be 16 or older to try out, and there's not necessarily an age cap on that. So I started playing with Team USA in the summers in college, and that kind of allowed me to play both baseball and softball. When college was over, I didn't play any more softball, but I continued to play with the Team USA. And then a couple years into that, the Sonoma Stompers came out, and they were looking to see if any girls were interested in coming to play in their league. So that's how I kind of got involved with the Sonoma Stompers, myself, and then another one of my teammates, Kelsie Whitmore. We both went to play with Isaac and everyone. So that's kind of my little path of baseball and a little bit of softball.
Very cool. So Isaac, again, obviously, I know a lot about your background, but go ahead and tell our listeners, some of your background. Obviously, you were not highly recruited out of high school to go on and play college baseball, but you fought hard. You got to Division II, and then you ended up playing 6 years of pro ball. So just talk a little bit about that and that journey that got you to Sonoma.
The funny thing is playing for you, honestly, was like one of the first moments of knowing that like baseball was going to be in my life for such a long time. And it was something that I wanted to perfect, because like I was saying earlier before we started recording everything, it was the journey and everything that we got to go on, the places we got to go, the people I got to meet was something that just instilled this fire in me, and I loved it. So I went to a Division II school in New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce University. I started actually on JV my freshman year. So even then was kind of a little adversity there. Next 3 years, though, were pretty awesome. Went to the College World Series Division II in Cary, North Carolina in 2010. I started first base almost the whole year for that season. Had a decent college career, but no draft anything or no signing as a free agent or anything after that. So I took the indie ball route and started in Vallejo, California, actually in the same Pacific Association that Sonoma was in. Played there 2013 and 14. Actually went to Sonoma in 2015 and got picked up to Florence. Played in the Frontier League with the Florence Freedom 15 and 16. Back to Sonoma in 17 with Stacy and Kels. And then the Road Warriors in 2018. Started in Lancaster in the Atlantic League and then ended up on the Road Warriors. So traveling the whole season, hotels, crazy baseball season there. And then last year, sitting on my couch until July 1st, thinking my baseball career might be over, and the New Jersey Jackals call and needed a catcher. I caught one game and then played first the rest of the season and won my first championship. So, kind of retired after the season, went out on a high note on my terms, and then got a job with the Giants, doing some rehab catching and running some analytics in the Arizona League this summer, if it ever starts back up.
It will. This is definitely a time that's trying everyone's patience, I believe. I know for my wife and I, we put the house on the market, pandemic hits, take the house off the market. Now they're starting to slowly open things up. We got the house back on the market. We got RV sitting in the lawn and just waiting to go. So it's definitely a time of trying patience for everyone. So before we talk about your teammates' days, Isaac, if you can just talk a little bit, you were lucky to even be on the baseball field in 2017. So talk a little bit about that.
So 2016 off season, honestly, probably best shape of my life. Training the hardest I ever trained, coming off, one of my best seasons from Sonoma, getting picked up to Florence, best offensive defensive season. Like I said, I just felt unbelievable. Training this day in March. Don't even remember the date now anyway. I mean, it's like March 26th, I think, or something like that. I'm still alive, whatever. But so training, hitting in the morning, I went to the gym, came home, ate my normal lunch of eggs and hot sauce. I didn't think anything different of that day, and started getting some heartburn. So I took some Tums and I was like, all right, this will go away. And it kind of started moving to my arm a little bit, and I lifted chest that day. So I was kind of like, maybe I pulled a muscle. I'm 26 years old. I'm healthy as hell. I'm not expecting myself to be experiencing anything. So I have a lesson actually with a 13-year-old kid who I'd been coaching for about a year, Nathan Boyer. I drive 45 minutes down to Chandler to give the lesson. And I get out of the car and I tell his mom, I'm like, hey, sorry I'm late. I had a little chest pain or whatever. We joke around, maybe I'm having a heart attack, and just joking around about it. And she always stays for every lesson. And this lesson, she had to go get ready for dinner with her husband. They had a date night planned. So she leaves, and it's just Nate and I in the park. And I'm sitting on my ball bucket. Nate's finishing stretching, and he goes, all right, man, you ready to start? And I clapped my hands, and I said, yep. And I stood up off the bucket and just face planted. And I don't recall anything other than that. I know I was texting my wife now. My girlfriend at the time, I was texting her, and Nate said he was just tapping my phone because it had a lock screen, and just so he could dial 911. And I don't know at 13 that I'm ever thinking to, keep the lock screen from going onto my coach's phone while he's laying on the ground, especially because he thought I was joking at first, because I'm a clown. I like to have a good time. But so he kind of thought I was joking, and then he really realized that it wasn't anything to joke about, and he called 911, and the paramedics walked him through chest compressions, and he actually saved my life. So I ended up having a widowmaker heart attack, which only about 5% of people ever survive. So that in itself is pretty incredible. But the paramedics were a mile down the road. Chandler Regional Hospital, which had the most updated cardiology unit, that was, I think, 5 miles down the road. It took about 15 minutes for me to get there. So, I mean, it was a perfect storm for me to have a heart attack. To have Nate react the way that he did at 13, to remember any CPR from the Boy Scouts a couple years before, I don't know, Nate was just a different soul that I knew if I was with any other kid, not to take anything away from them, but Nate's just different. And so, it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy to think that everything was so perfect for me to have a heart attack and still be here, especially a widowmaker. So I don't think my purpose on earth is done yet. So that's kind of amazing to be able to search for that now as I go forward kind of with borrowed time. I'm on house money now. So I'm living my life to the fullest and enjoying everybody around me. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. It's a great story. So inspiring for sure. So again, I appreciate both you guys joining me here. I want to talk a little bit before we actually start talking about the game. I want to, Stacy, when you and Kelsie got signed to that team, obviously you knew it was groundbreaking, something that hadn't been done in years. Tell me your first reaction, and then, once you actually got into the clubhouse and meeting the guys and the teammates, that whole line of feelings that you went through.
Yeah. So when we first got signed, I always like to say me and Kelsie, we can kind of speak for each other because we're very much on the same page with this. For us, it was just another opportunity to play baseball. Neither one of us really cared about proving anything to anyone or about setting a record or doing something that, although it has been done a little bit in the past, it hasn't been done very often. And so, both of us, that really wasn't something that I was thinking of. I just wanted to play baseball, and it allowed me to play, just like another travel ball team almost. I kind of had to downplay it a little bit to, keep away nerves or anything like that. But yeah, when we first got to Sonoma, I remember when I first got, I was really nervous because, of course, the guys hearing about a girl coming to play, I mean, you kind of just have to have your wall up because you don't know what people are going to think of you. And, I think I was there for the right reasons, and I, grew up playing just like the guys. So to me, until I got to prove myself, I was probably going to keep that, that nervousness inside of me a little bit. But I mean, everybody was very friendly right off the bat. I instantly started talking to people, and, it's the same kind of guys I grew up playing with. And my first day actually was interesting because I flew in the night before I had to pitch. So I had a spot start my first day there basically. So I flew in the night before. My plane had gotten delayed, I don't know how many times. I basically landed in San Francisco at like 3 a.m. We drove to my host family's house. I slept for a couple hours, and then I woke up and I had to do some phone calls, and then I went straight to the field, and then it was like game time. So it all happened very fast. But, I think once that first game was over, I pitched well, and I kind of gained everyone's respect. And so I think from then on, we were just able to build as a team. But I think that, once the guys knew that me and Kelsie were there for the right reasons, it was easy for them to accept us. But honestly, just having everybody act the way that they did, it made me feel comfortable. Right off the bat, I didn't get any weird looks necessarily, or I didn't, nobody was rude. And so that did make me feel comfortable to come in and have a good first game. So it was nice. Everybody was very respectful.
That's very cool. And Isaac, from your point of view, being one of the males on the team, and now you've got two female teammates there, what was your reaction to that?
I thought it was funny that Stacy was talking about the wall being up from the guys, because I mean, it's not anything against the girls that come into play. It's, you look at the organization, and it's like, is this a ticket move? Is this is this just a move to make, put butts in the seats? And then you see girls like Stacy and Kelsie come to the field every day and work harder than half the guys that show up to the field. Then they're there for the real reason. And it's never a thing where you're like, oh God, girls are coming. You see their work ethic and you're like, nah, these are ball players. It's not a female male thing. They're ready to grind the same way we're ready to grind. And the only wall that's ever up, I think, from males having females come in is towards the organization, kind of what's the reasoning behind bringing these people in. And then, like I said, you see the two girls that stepped into Sonoma, and I mean, dude, it was crazy. They made us work harder because, I mean, they showed up every day. Kelsie put in so much work. Stacy's out there throwing bullpens, throwing flat grounds, like just not taking a day for granted. And I think it kind of helped us realize how much the game meant to them, and it makes it mean that much more to us too.
Very cool. Very cool. So, Stacy, when you hear Isaac say something like that about how, you and Kelsie kind of made the guys step their game up a little bit, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nice to to know that we do have their respect and that they see us working hard. So it was nice that, you know, it's kind of like we can play off of each other. You know, me and Kelsie, we both want to get better as well. And we've learned so much from just kind of picking the guys' brains and maybe seeing some exercises that they do. And, you know, we can share things. And so, you know, having that camaraderie of like, oh, I'm going to work harder than you. It's nice that it's kind of a gender neutral thing.
Yeah,
that
competition. Yeah, 100%. You know, competition's gender neutral. I mean, if you're going to compete, I want you by my side on the field. Like, that's plain and simple.
Yeah, definitely. And it was like that growing up too, which is nice that, you know, I can have the same relationship with these guys as I did with the kids that I grew up playing with. You know, I don't care if I'm a girl, I'm still going to try and throw farther than you.
I think that's why you were able to earn that respect early on is because you weren't, I'm a girl, I'm a baseball player. Like, there's no gender involved.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a really great team, and I know we'll probably talk about it more, but I mean, I honestly, like, I could not have wished to be on a better team. Just everybody, each and every one of the guys that were there, you know, everyone had different roles, and everybody was so supportive, and so it really was a great fit.
That's very cool. So let's talk about that game specifically. July 15th, 2017, you're playing the Pittsburg Diamonds. I'll paint a little bit here. I'm looking at the box score right now. So you guys are the home team. Stacy, you go out, you take the mound to give up a run in the first inning, and then your team comes back. And
it was weak. That was a weak run. It was a weak run that they scored.
Yeah, it was.
So weak. That doesn't count.
So you come in the dugout, obviously a little frustrated if it's a weak run, but again, your team comes right out of the gate and puts 4 on the board in the bottom of the first. So just, you know, go through, and both you guys can just kind of feed off each other here. I mean, go through from the bullpen to taking the mound to, you know, putting 4 on the board, and then really just hammering this team after that.
Hey, do you mind if I say something first real quick? It's funny. So before the game even started, so and I love Yoshi to death. That's my guy. He came up to me and he said, "Oh, I see Stacy going about 3 innings." And I said, "Yoshi, there's no chance." I said, "Stacy and I are going 7 innings. And she's getting a win, and we're going 7. And he goes, "Well, we'll see. We'll give her 3. And I'm like, "No." I said, "Yoshi, we are going 7 innings, and Stacy's getting a win." So go ahead. I just had to say that because I was like, no way.
And I think you might have even told me that before the game. I don't know if you did or not, but you definitely told me after. But no, I mean, I was just really focused. Like, when I played, I've switched positions being a starter and a reliever like my whole career. So normally with Team USA, I am a starter. So I'm very comfortable in the starting position. So, you know, I just went in like any other game. I was very focused. I was very calm. I wasn't paying attention to anything other than what I had to do. You know, every pitch, that's all I was focused on. I wasn't worried about the crowd or anything like that. So yeah, honestly, it was kind of a mindless game while it was happening. It all happened kind of quickly. But after that first inning, you know, when we came back and scored, it definitely gave me confidence to go out and just kind of start fresh again. As any pitcher, you know, of course you want that run support. But I was just focused on every single pitch. I mean, Zach was honestly the best catcher I could have had. He's a pump-up catcher. Like, Zach, like, you really make your pitchers feel just – help me think of the word.
Appreciate you.
You really
make – girl.
Like, yeah, like, you get us pumped up, ready to go. You make us feel comfortable. Like, you know, I know that you got my back out there. And by that time, you know, we had spent – all of us teammates had spent so much time together. Everyone, I just felt very supported. And so it was kind of a mindless game. Like, I was just going inning by inning. I wasn't worried about, oh, you know, I made it to the 5th inning or I made it to the 6th inning. I was just going out there. I was ready to go out for 8, 9 innings.
I know.
But no, it was great. I got in my rhythm, and it was just like any other game for me. So
no, I thought it was cool because, so as a catcher, you know, and even as a starter, I still would go out and catch bullpens, I felt, because I wanted to know what my pitchers were bringing, whether it's the relievers, starters for later on, and watching. I would catch Stacy's bullpen because she was so religious on like she wanted to get better. So I made sure that, like you said, like I'm a pump up catcher, but I want to make sure that I take the time out in the little moments where it's a bullpen. And I felt like the fact that we worked together in bullpens allowed us to go out to the field and almost work just seamlessly into a game.
Yeah.
And that just attests to how much work she put in over the entire body of work that was that season. You know, it wasn't something that randomly just happened this start. It's like she earned this success. She earned that win more than pitchers earn wins on a daily basis. Like she earned this one big time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Was there any moment during the game, you know, again, obviously your team came out, the final score was 16-1. So the 4-run first inning was just the beginning.
Yeah, our offense is nasty too, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Isaac went 4 for 6 that game, so it's nice to have that support.
damn, did I really?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Probably 4 infield singles too.
Well, there were no extra base hits, so I don't know if they were
Dang
singles,
it.
but there were definitely 4 singles. But still, hey, 4 for 6 and 2 ribbies is a good day for anybody. So nothing to be ashamed of there. But you know, was there any moment in particular, Stace? I mean, you said it was kind of a mindless game for the most part, but you know, once that first inning got by, was it really just at that point cruise control? I mean, you gave up 5 hits. 1 run, 5 hits, and that's a really good outing.
4 strikeouts, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
4 strikeouts.
4 strikeouts. And what, one walk?
Yeah, I think. Or,
Yep.
yeah,
No walks.
No walk.
walk.
Yeah,
exactly.
there you
no
go.
walk. That's
That's
right. That's right. Hey, that's a great line.
Yeah, the only walk of the game came from the reliever. So,
Okay.
Yeah, see, we should have let you go 8 and 9.
But, you know, how was the crowd when you took them out? I mean, how was the crowd throughout the game? I mean, do you think anybody really realized the real moment that was taking place? I know a lot of times when you're in the moment, you don't really recognize it. It's not till afterwards. But, you know, what was the feel of the crowd? What was the feel of the opponents when you took the mound?
Right. Well, I mean, I will first say it definitely was, like, I was on cruise control for sure. At that time, I don't even know if I looked up in the crowd. Like, I really was not paying attention to anything. But I do remember after every time I kind of came into the dugout, the guys were like shoving me and like, you know, like, hey, like, look what you're doing kind of thing. But I was like, just like ignore them real quick again. But in Sonoma, I mean, we always had really nice crowds. And I'm going to go ahead and guess and say that the crowd was really good that game. You can ask Zach.
It was huge.
But, no, like I literally was not paying attention. Like I did not look anywhere except for Isaac's glove. I was that locked in because I knew I just didn't want to get off of my cruise control. So, I really did.
You know when they say people control their pitches? Dude, I swear to God, he threw 2 pitches above the knees. And they were purpose fastballs, and the dude popped them up. Like it was, dude, it was one of the most incredible games I've ever been a part of. And the fans were electric, but like she said, like you didn't realize that because I knew what our goal was, and I knew, like you say, like, do you know that you're making history? Like I knew that we had a chance to do something seriously incredible, and because. You could kind of see it in Pittsburgh too, that they even amped up their intensity. Like they were no longer like we're facing a female, and she still dominated them. I'm dead serious. Like in the beginning, because I'm catching, so I hear them.
Yeah.
So the first inning, they're like, "Dude, is this for real?" And then she goes and gives up a weak ass hit and it's like a weak run, and the second inning, she comes out and deals. And then the next time around the lineup, like, they're not saying anything to me. Like, they're getting in the box, locked in, like, pissed that they're getting shoved upon. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and then they're
Stacey's
trying
shoving.
so hard, then they couldn't.
Exactly. Then they got just the
They
exact
have the
opposite.
pressure on them at that point. It's not on me anymore. It's on them.
And then Stacy's just chilling and playing off that, throwing curveballs that are right at the bottom of the kneecap that they're reaching for. And it's like she was a she among pitchers that day. Like we talked about before, like no gender, nothing. That was a straight up pitcher that day. She did her job amazingly.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, Isaac, Stacy talked about how she was kind of just in a groove and trying to stay focused. And, obviously, I was a catcher as well. So, our job as a catcher is to really be able to feed off our pitcher and know when to say something to them and know when to just keep our mouths shut and let them do their thing because they're in that groove. At what point in the game did you realize, all right, she is on her game. All I got to do here is, block the curveball in the dirt and, keep her in her groove?
The bullpen. I knew I'm not even kidding. Like, I think every inning we'd run off the field and I would just say a little something to her, like, you're a badass, or like, look what you, like, you're fucking nasty. Like, sorry for swearing, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I would just say something to her just to let her know, like, you're doing this. This is nobody else. Like, you're out there doing this. We're behind you. We got your back. And it was from the bullpen because it was exactly what the game was. It was pitches right at the knees with every pitch. It was spotted up every single time. And I knew if she could take that mentality to the mound, that there was going to be nothing that would stop her. And I just, every inning I'd come past Yoshi and be like, I'm taking her another. I'm taking her another one. I'm taking her another one. And it was almost just keep her loose. Just keep her just knowing that she loves the game and that's why she's succeeding right now. I think that's one thing that made me a different catcher, was being able to do that with personalities, is just keep them loving what they're doing. And she received me so well. I think one inning I might have hit her butt with my glove, and I think I apologized instantly because, like, you just get in that mode where it's like, hey, hell of a job. And I was like, oh, God, can't. Sorry. But it's like you just get in that rhythm. Like you said, we were just in a rhythm, and she was a pitcher. And that's how cohesive we were that game. And it was, like I said, it's a testament to how much hard work she put in to know that she was just going to do it. And all I had to do was facilitate, put my fingers down. And if she liked that pitch, she was going to say yes. And thankfully she didn't really shake that much. And we just kind of rolled, it was a really, really awesome experience to have. When I've experienced it with pitchers before, but that was such a different level because we had to be a little smarter. We had to be a little more thoughtful about what we were doing in order to get where we wanted to get to. And to really experience that with someone who was on the same mental wavelength and that just going at it and really competing, it was incredible. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. Thanks for getting me in the Hall of Fame, Stace.
You do that, Zach.
So Stacy, from a pitcher's point of view, I mean, how important is that? I don't think, a lot of people who, if you're not a pitcher, not a catcher, you don't really understand that game within the game sometimes. So how important was it to have, again, whether it's Isaac in that particular game or any of your catchers throughout your career, to just be on that same wavelength with them? I mean, how much easier does it make your job?
Oh, it's all the difference in the world. I mean, I have had games, especially, like little pickup tournaments I've played, and the catcher is just, you guys are not vibing together. They're not catching your pitches or framing them up. And it's just, it can be very difficult if you and your catcher are not in agreement, whether that be like physically or mentally. And so, I mean, again, having Zach there, I had full confidence. I knew I was supported. I trusted him. I trusted his pitches. And so it honestly did make all the difference. He is giving me all the credit, but at the same time, catchers don't ever get credit, right? It's all about the pitcher. But, I mean, he was a huge reason why I was successful that game. And I think both of us together, deserve just as much credit. Granted, yes, we did something, historically, but I mean, I couldn't have done it without Zach, and I'm really lucky that we were both, pitching and battery together that game, because he deserves just as much success as I do. With everything, a pitcher's catcher is everything to their success, I think. So.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. But that whole season though, like the whole season, just I'm serious, like learning your type of grind, because it has to be different.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it's unfortunate that it is that, but it has to be different. And you, like I said, you and Kelsie brought a different grind where you weren't going to be treated differently. There was no way we could discriminate against you being a female. You know what I mean? Like anybody that wanted to try to find something to hate about it, you couldn't. There's no way you could. So it was, I thank you for that, because you put a new perspective on the game and how to grind and truthfully respecting the love of baseball, because it's in all shapes and forms. So it's,
right.
I think that's one thing that you've taught me. So I'm so appreciative from you and Kelsie, especially, for teaching me that kind of stuff. So seriously.
Very cool. So obviously you're in the moment during the game. You're not thinking about the, historical context of what's going on. How long after the game, after, it's in the books, when the W's notched in the column, did you kind of sit back and say, wow, this is what we did? And Stacy, I'll let you go first.
Well, I would say the first moment I realized was when everybody dumped the ice bucket on me, which I really was not expecting.
Awesome.
I literally got off the field. It was Mike and Tyrell. And I didn't even know what happened. But no, honestly, I don't remember when the moment was that I got to kind of relax and think about everything, because we were, celebrating as soon as the game was over. But no, I mean, have definitely been times when I did get to digest everything, and I was just really proud of from where I've came playing baseball. I mean, I didn't even think I would get to play high school baseball, and then I didn't think I didn't even know about Team USA. And then I didn't even think that I would get to play after Team USA. It's like there's always another level where I never thought I was going to get an opportunity to do that. And then when I heard that they were going to put my jersey in the Hall of Fame, that was another really big moment, because that was something that I always wanted growing up. I mean, every baseball player wants to be in the Hall of Fame. That's like your claim to fame, And I definitely knew, which is horrible of me, but I definitely knew I was never going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it was like, as a kid, there's this point where, as a girl baseball player, I want to play in the MLB too. And then there's this point where that kind of doesn't belong, or that's not really a goal anymore, because it's just not realistic. So you set these smaller goals. I want to play in college, and then I kind of got over it. It's like I kind of got over that once, because I just didn't think that it would ever happen. So, as a kid, being in the Hall of Fame, that was something that I had always wanted, and this opportunity just kind of randomly was created for that to happen. And so that was something, saying that I have that is kind of proof to me, to where nobody can tell me that what I did was or wasn't special. Like, to me, not that I need proof of that, but that was a really special moment that I found out, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks after or so. So yeah.
And Isaac, how about you?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. For me, it was more about Stacy. Like when I think seeing her jersey in the Hall of Fame was when it really set in for me, because I knew what she did. Like, I knew right after the game, and I knew a couple weeks after, like, what she really had done, but I also knew that she earned that. That it wasn't like it. I don't know. It was so weird to not even think about it as like a female thing. Like, that's not a bad thing, but it's just what it was. It's just a pitcher who I saw earn all these accolades. So for me, I knew it was coming. Like, I just sat back, and as soon as they said that we were in the Hall of Fame and that Stacy was going to be honored, I was so happy for her that it finally set in, like, that I was able to help her accomplish what she just explained in her own words. you know, because I saw how much, like I've said this whole thing, I saw how much it meant to her. And for me to see that moment, the Hall of Fame happened, and to know that I even got to facilitate it, even just the slightest, like for me, it was so much more about Stacy than it was about me being in there, because she worked for it. She's earned, like she just said, like what she's done. Hold on, someone just. All right, I'm unmuted now. Gee, should have muted my phone like you did. My bad. But like I said, like it was so much more for her because she earned this, and to finally see it happen, it was, you know, you got to take a step back, sit there for a second, and go, wow, like we did it. We really did this for somebody who deserves it. You know, so for me to be a part of that for me was the coolest part, was to sit back and see her get everything that she deserved, get all that stuff. And catchers don't take credit, but I don't deserve the credit that she's getting for that stuff, because that's all her. She's earned it from the time that she picked up a baseball at the age of probably 2 years old and throwing 85 by then. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's what I'm saying. She's earned all this. So to be a facilitator was amazing. That's what I'll take away from this, is she's earned all this, and I'm honored to be by her side through it.
That's cool. So Stacy, one thing I also want to bring up for the listeners, you know, obviously that was a huge game in your career, but 2 years prior to that, in the Pan American Games, in which the U.S. women's team won a gold medal, you actually ended up throwing the first no-hitter in women's baseball against Puerto Rico. So, you know, tell me a little bit about that experience as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar in some ways, whereas, you know, I was just focused on every pitch. It was just another game. I think our offense did very well that game as well, which is nice to have that support. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know that hadn't been done before. I wasn't really aware of the record until after the game. So for me, it was just another game, and I had a lot of great support from my team. You know, Anna Kimbrell, she was my catcher. Just like I explained about Sack, we have a very good chemistry together, so I couldn't have done it without her. I mean, our center fielder made a diving catch at one point in time, which, I mean, hey, that could have been a base hit. So, I mean, of course, I always want to give my team credit as well. But, you know, I just got into a rhythm, and I did the game and treated it like any other, and was fortunate to come out with the no-hitter. And I have to say this. Okay, I had one walk, the very first batter, which was questionable. And that only one walk was that. If I did not have that walk, I would have had a perfect game.
Wow.
Dude,
Yeah.
early strikes. First pitch strikes to the leadoff hitter, Stace.
What's that?
The first pitch strike to the leadoff hitter. You got to go at the leadoff. So, I need you to have that perfect game.
Dude, I know. Hey, I'm telling you, I thought it was a strike. I thought that last
I
pitch
need
was
you to
a
have
strike.
that.
Maybe we can get another one. Maybe I'll get another one day.
Video replay that. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I need to find it. I don't know if they have it, but yeah. So
I love, I love talking to you guys and just kind of seeing how you feed off each other. I mean, it's now, you know, going on 3 years since that game, and you guys haven't, you know, played together since that season, but to see that, you know, connection immediately when we all got on the call together is really cool. And I think that's, again, one of those intangibles that, you know, unless you're a pitcher or a catcher, you really don't understand.
yeah.
Real, just to give you perspective on you know, how much the camaraderie has stayed. She was actually out in Arizona with Mike and Joelle for the wedding. So
Yeah.
that Stomper team, majority of them were actually at the wedding, at least invited if they couldn't have made it. But that's just, you know, a testament to really how close we were. So, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool to still have that friendship with those people and know that they're there for me and I'm there for them. It's really awesome that they were able to make it out for that day. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's another thing. Like the 2 years that I played with the Stompers, I mean, not only was it just an amazing time to be playing baseball and an amazing team to be on, but like, I mean, we still all keep in touch, a lot of us, and it was nice. Like I got to go out to Zach's wedding, And I mean, Joel is down here in Florida with us. And so, I do get to see the guys every once in a while. And it honestly, like, we do have friendships from those couple years. And that's something that's really special to me, definitely. So, yeah.
That's cool. So we're just about out of time here. And, as I mentioned, always like to ask one final question. I'll ask Isaac first. But the subtitle of the podcast is, Many Little People, Many Little Places, which comes from a Michael Franti song titled Gloria, where the opening line says, many little people and many little places do many little things, then the whole world changes. So, Isaac, what's one of the things that you feel you've done to help make the world a better place? One of those little things.
I mean, I just think it's the daily energy I bring to pretty much anything I do. Stacy knows from that 2017 season. I'm a crazy soul, man, but there's so much love in my heart. I just think that I go through the day trying to make random people's days better, just because it's what you're supposed to do. If you're put on this earth to try to inspire people, no matter how you have to do it. If you're having a bad day, put a smile on somebody else's face, because, if you're not able to have one on your face every day, at least try to impact somebody else positively, because it's a tough world out here. I mean, we see everything that's going on right now too, especially. And there has to be a point in time where it's love over everything else and understanding that we're human beings. And I think that's one thing I've tried to do mostly in my lifetime, especially, after we talked about my incident before, with this second chance I got. I just think that we have to come together as people. So, the more happiness and joy that we can spread to each other, even if it's just a random small smile or waving at somebody or saying hello or reaching out to a friend you haven't talked to in a long time, like, just take the time to make sure that everybody knows that they're loved and that they're thought about, at least for a second. I think that's one thing that I've taken into daily life lately. And I think it's something that we can all take into it. Just brighten people's days.
Awesome. And Stacy, what's one of those things that you feel you've done to help make the world a better place?
Yeah. Well, first, I'm going to say I completely agree with everything that Isaac said. That's a mentality that I like to live by as well. So I definitely think that that's very important. I'm going to say just something that I've done and something that I like to tell other people is find what you are truly passionate about and don't let anybody else decide that for you. Especially, we've come a long way in society with, or we're trying to come a long way as far as equal rights, whether it be, women and men of gender or, race or whatever that may be. I know that there's still a lot of things that our society is working on, but if you can find something that you are passionate about and something that you want to work for, I think that should be your decision. I don't think anybody else can tell you what you're going to be good at. And I think that if we can all find that special thing that, that we are passionate about, I think that's how everyone's going to grow together. And that is how Isaac said we will inspire each other. So for me, that one thing was baseball. And, I was fortunate enough to be able to not listen to others around me and to, stay true to myself and see how far it could take me. And, like I said, I didn't even think I was going to be able to play high school ball. And every year I gained more and more just staying true to my passion and working hard to get that. So if everybody can find what they're passionate about and what they're good at and turn that into something special, I think that's important for society. So
that's awesome. I
Well
love
said.
Love
Well
that.
said.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time and taking a little stroll down memory lane here, joining me on the podcast. And for those out there listening, be sure to check out my website and other podcasts at danclouser.com. Stacy and Isaac, I appreciate you joining me, and look forward to following you guys and the rest of your careers here. Isaac with the Giants, Stacy, hopefully U.S. can bring back a World Cup gold,
Yeah.
World Cup medal here next year. And just keep on, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate you. Yeah, appreciate you, dog.